That is the case, because he gets knocked out, but not by Robert Carlyle or Guy Pearce, by the returning Jeffrey Jones, Colonel Hart, still alive. He last seen stabbed with an axe in his back, being dragged into a cave. It turns out Carlyle fed him, nursed him back to health, fed him people, of course, and how he is also a Wendigo. And so the plan, Robert Carlyle's plan basically is to have a small group of Wendigos set up in this outpost, eating people that come through. Not everyone. Some people.
Just some.
They're not going to split up families. They're not going to kill women and kids. They're just going to take bad people come through. People who, they're not going to survive the mountains. They're going to die anyway. We keep them here. We'll eat them.
That's the thing. He's quite, considering everything, his morals aren't too bad. Yeah, they're not too bad.
He doesn't want to kill everyone, take over the world. He just wants to kill some bad people. I don't know. He's Batman. Robert Carlyle's Batman. I would have seen that film 20 years ago. That'd be great.
That would have been amazing.
I think Guy Pearce was up for it at some point. With the Christopher Nolan connection with Memento.
Guy Pearce he's too nice. He's too nice to be Batman. But then again, I feel like Robert Carlyle was probably
too evil,
nasty. Yeah, need like a bit in the middle of those two would maybe be perfect.
Yes,
that's why neither got the job.
But I do appreciate how Guy Pearce never seems to be afraid to look terrible in any film that he does, because he's a very attractive man. But he's more of a character actor acting presence inside this leading man body, I think has been described as. But he's never afraid to look awful, because he looks terrible in a lot of this film, like the lank hair, the blood all over the place. He's got this real scratchy beard going on. He doesn't look great. And compare that to like in LA Confidential, he's always hidden behind those giant glasses. In like the start of Iron Man 3, he doesn't look very good. He's like a real young, spotty nerd kind of guy. He always looks. He's not afraid to look terrible. I appreciate
that's
that.
A good point, actually, because the reason I first ever saw Ravenous was because my mum was obsessed with Guy Pearce and decided to watch Ravenous. I think she still liked him in this, but yeah, he does actually always kind of allow himself to look a bit crappy, which good on him. Yeah. I like that.
They age him up 50 years in Prometheus. Just for the hell of it, yeah. Could cast an old actor? No. Let's spend a fortune making Guy Pearce look old for a scene. Great. So Jeffrey Jones is back. He's healthier. He doesn't need his glasses anymore. He's just more full of face and everything. He's raring to go, and he's part of the team. And they enjoy Major Knox stew, but only after Robert Carlyle stabs Guy Pearce and says, "Look, your options are die or eat this stew and join us," which bad position to be in. Not the first time he's been in that position, and he opts to eat the stew, kind of become on the team, but not in a way that can be trusted. So a little later, Jeffrey Jones is with Guy Pearce, and we get a callback to the walnut scene from earlier, where he could only crush his walnuts with a book. Now he can do it by hand. He's that strong. Which is a nice little setup callback moment. I appreciate that. And they have a conversation where it's revealed that he doesn't want to live as a Wendigo anymore. He'll let Guy Pearce free on the condition that Guy Pearce kills him.
I think that's a fair.
Yes.
A fair trade-off.
I agree. And we get a really artistic shot of when he's stabbed. He's slashed in the throat and the blood splashes against the window with Robert Carlyle outside. So we get this shot of Robert Carlyle soaked in blood on the window, and it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the film is just a fight between Guy Pearce and Robert Carlyle. And it's brutal. Because it's not just you got a sword, I got a sword, let's go. It's anything to hand. We're going to stab each other with a pitchfork, a cleaver, a dagger, and then just a pile of logs.
They do. It's literally whatever is close to it. And obviously in a place like that, there's just random stuff laying around.
Yeah, this isn't a safe environment. Everything here can kill you. It's a very brutal, bloody battle that ends It ends with Guy Pearce taking Robert Carlyle, holding them both, and then lying down into a bear trap. But not just any bear trap, a giant bear trap. A bear trap big enough.
The biggest bear trap you've ever. I'm not even sure if bears get that big.
It's like a woolly mammoth trap, but a few millennia too late. So it's huge, and it's big enough for two grown men to lie down in it, and then it closes on them, and it pins them together. And then you get Robert Carlyle's line of, "That was very sneaky."
I think so. That was one of the things. Like, I've seen so many people like review this film, and they're like, I love it, and then they're like, but that line is a bit. Why? Who wrote that?
That one's really sneaky. And then just the longest death rattle. Like a solid minute of him dying. But before that, they have the conversation kind of if you die first, I'm definitely going to eat you. But if I die first, what are you going to do? And Robert Carlyle dies first, and Guy Pearce opts not to eat him. He's how he got his medal, what he was rewarded for, was lying down and doing nothing, basically, and hiding. And then at the end, he's heroically does nothing. He heroically lies down, dies.
I think this film is a great example of showing you that sometimes lying down and doing nothing is the most, just the best option to take in most scenarios, clearly.
Yeah, I think so. And that's what happens here. So Martha comes back with the general. She sees him through the window, works out what's happening, checks out, walks away, gone. Don't blame her 100%.
Right, I love the way she just shuts the door. She's like, nope, I ain't dealing with that. I'm off. Yep. Thank you very much.
I'm done with these white men. But that's not the end of the film, because General Slauson, John Spencer, finds the stew still cooking. He's hungry. There's a stew. It smells good. He tastes it. He likes it. He goes back for more. He's now a Wendigo. But he doesn't know it. He doesn't know what he's done. It's potentially worse, because he's going to have this craving for something. He has no idea what it is, where it came from, what he's going to do with it. He's just always hungry.
Poor thing.
Yeah.
That's horrible. At least if you know you're a cannibal, you can fix the hunger. But yeah, poor thing's just, like you said, starving all the time.
And I feel like he's going to be around somebody who cuts their hand, and he's be like, he can just smell it's that feeling that the blood is. Oh.
I need it.
And that's going to be a real conversation in his own head of what's going on there, trying to figure that one out. That's the sequel. And that's the film. So anything we missed? Anything else in Ravenous you want to talk about?
I mean, that's pretty much what happens. I think it's like you said, it does feel like many films in one, which I think is just down to the tone of the entire thing, because it's a weird film. Like, I have to say, it's not a film that everyone's gonna get on with. Like, I could watch it time and time again, mainly because of Guy Pearce and Robert Carlyle. But I just love the film because I think it's obviously for me it ties a lot into the Wendigo, Hannibal, another thing I'm obsessed with, and this kind of bromance love aspect of it. I don't know how much reading you've done on it, but yeah, a lot of people have hypothesized, and that actually Guy Pearce and Robert Carlyle as their characters in this have got a bit of a gay relationship going on, which I think you can see when they're in the bear trap.
They're hugging each other.
It's oddly romantic, isn't it?
Well, there are numerous scenes where they're really up in each other's faces, and it could quite easily turn into a kiss within that scene. I haven't read into any more of that, but I can see where they're coming from. And it's a film with an almost entirely male cast, all kind of holed up together in a small location. It could very easily have taken a turn. Yeah.
I kind of wish it had. I kind of wish it had gone a little bit further into that.
You wanted Ravenous a love story.
I personally would put it down as a love story, but that's just me. that's just how I vibe with it.
Fair enough. Yeah. Don't blame you. So I mentioned earlier what I like to do with these films is compare them to Deep Blue Sea. So I have a small list. It's very small in this case. So the main character, this is Guy Pearce, when he meets Colonel Hart, he says his hobby is swimming. He likes swimming, as does Carter in Deep Blue Sea. Throughout the film, people get eaten. Happens in both films. There is one member of the crew is religious. So in this one, it's Jeremy Davies. In Deep Blue Sea, it's obviously Preacher. There's a crew of 8 people. One of them is a cook. They're cut off from society. Robert Carlyle has the story like Russell Franklin of going away, getting things going awry in the mountains. When Guy Pearce has a high jump off of a cliff into the trees, like Susan has a high jump off of the tower into the water. A character undresses for plot reasons. It's released in 1999, and towards the end, the hero and the villain are pinned together in the same way that Carter and the giant shark are stabbed together with the spear gun. That's all I could do. That was stretching it to breaking point, I think. With Ravenous, it's not a very similar film to Deep Blue Sea. But
I've got to say, you did very, very well at finding some things there, because my immediate thought, the only thing was, I was like, well, Robert Carlyle's, bit like a shark. He's a predator. I was like, that's really pushing it for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, he eats people, so he is very much a predator.
Exactly.
One final thing I like to do is I work out how deep and how blue is the film. So this is nonsense. So basically, Deep Blue Sea is on average 14.5 meters deep and 31% blue. Yes, I went through it chapter by chapter, scene by scene, working out how blue each scene was and how deep each scene was. Apparently, I have too much time on my hands. I tried doing the same thing with Ravenous, but they don't really go underwater at any point, so it's not deep in any way. It's mostly up in the mountains. I looked up the elevation of Mount Spencer, which is where Fort Spencer is near, obviously, and it's like 67 meters high. It's not actually that prominent from the surrounding area. But this works out at roughly about 12 meters high in the end, so 39 feet. And in terms of blue, it's not blue at all. It's a very their uniforms are all blue, so there is generally something blue on screen at all time. It doesn't take up a lot of the screen. So I worked out it's about 4.8% blue in total, because there's a lot of scenes in the dark, especially in the cave, and out in the snow everything's just white and the forest is all brown. So it's one of our least blue films that we've covered on the show. Not the least blue, but it's down there.
It's one of them. Yeah, I can see that.
The least blue film is The Covenant, I think, which is just entirely set at night, basically, because everything's just black and grey. And The Descent is very black and very red. But yes, that's how deep and how blue Ravenous is. No one else has done it on our podcast before. That is our unique premise here. So thank you, Zoe, for joining me for this. Where can the listeners find you? What else you got going on?
People can find me. What have I got going on? That's a good question. We've got lots going on at Ghouls Magazine. We've got lots of panel discussions coming up. So one about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We'll also be doing one on Final Girls. And then we've gone through the months and themed them up. And you know what I've realised is we haven't got a cannibal month. So I'm thinking, I might have to change something here, because, what we're doing if we haven't got a cannibal month, like, that's just not okay. So yeah, lots and lots going on over there. And then for me personally, if you like hearing more about cannibals and people eating each other, I do book reviews over on YouTube, and I have covered actually some fantastic books all about cannibalism, of course. Homosexual cannibalism, actually. So probably ties in quite well with the Ravenous theme going on there. And then other than that, I've got working on a couple of pieces that I can't talk about yet, but they are very exciting, and I think I'll be allowed to announce that like end of Feb. So yeah, but just come and follow Ghouls Magazine and Zobo with a Shotgun and the various social media sites.
Do you want to take a minute and say what is Ghouls Magazine? We had one of your writers, Kim Morrison, on for Deep Sea 2. But for newer listeners, what is it that you do over there as a whole?
So Ghouls Magazine